Hello there and welcome to Trinity Stamps. Today we're going to take a close-up look at a brand new product called Orchid Lei Die Set. This is a step-by-step tutorial to help you turn your Orchid Lei die set into some gorgeous orchid flowers and even a lei. So here's the die set right here, designed by Linda Kanase. You can see what the dies look like, die cut out on the back. There's also a QR code on the back that you can open up your phone and camera, place it over the QR code, and it's going to pop open a link to this video right here. So when you get your die set, you're able to follow along. Now, to make these orchids, we recommend using some crepe paper. This is often how crepe paper comes, and we do carry it in the Trinity Stamps shop. I'm also going to be using some very lightweight cardstock. You could also use some copy paper if you don't have lightweight cardstock. This is what the crepe paper looks like when you open it up. You can see there's a grain, and we're going to cut with the grain so the grain runs top to bottom with each of the flower petals. There are 6 different petals to create one flower, so you're going to need to run all of these through your die cutting machine one time to create one flower. Now you can use multiple colors on your flower. We love that look, but here I'm just showing you all the petals done in purple. So here's a close-up look. You can see the grain running top to bottom on each petal. There's also a leaf in this die set, and we're going to cut that from crepe paper as well, but I wanted to show you that crepe paper is nice and thin. You can very easily cut out 2 layers, possibly 3 at once, depending on your machine. This piece right here is actually the stem. I know it looks a little wonky, but you're going to need 1 stem for each flower. All right, so I have enough here to create 2 flowers, which is what we're going to do today. We want to start with the stem piece right here. Now, I like to use a crease tool like this to break down the fibers in the paper. This is going to help me curl this because we're going to roll this up to create the stem. And when you do this, it breaks down those fibers in the paper and makes it much easier to roll up. So I highly recommend not skipping this step. All right, so if you have a tool, you can use the tool to help you roll this, or at least get it started. I'm using the Trinity Stamps pickup tool here to get it started. And we're going to roll this from the skinny end towards the large end, and then we're going to roll it back the other way. It's just easier to get the wide end rolled up if you start with the skinny end. So we do that first to kind of condition the paper as to where we want it to go. Now, in another scenario, you can find a different tool to use to roll this up, but if you don't, you're going to roll it just like this. You don't need to have a special tool to do this, but if you have it, you can use it. So you can see we're just rolling it as tight as we can, but this is just, that first initial roll to get it, going the direction we want it to go. So the second time you roll it is when you're going to start from the wide end and go towards the skinny end. And that's when you want to try to roll it a little bit tighter. But really the width of this stem is completely up to you. So you can see I'm just trying to go slow and roll this up and make it nice and tight. So then I just continue rolling and rolling and rolling. There's no need to put any adhesive until you get to the very end. And the adhesive that I like to use for these is definitely liquid adhesive. So pull out your favorite liquid glue to get these flowers put together. All right, so we're rolling, and again, you can use your pickup tool if that helps you get it going, and continue to roll it till you get to the skinny end. Okay, so some crepe paper sets will come with these stems, or you can order these kind of stems, but you could also use like a skewer if you wanted, and this is a really helpful tool to get this stem curved, and it's going to keep all of them the same. So once I broke down the fibers in my paper, I was able to go ahead and start with the wide end and curl this all the way around to the very end using this stem piece, which is very like sturdy wire or like a rod. So I recommend this a lot if you're going to be making a lot of these flowers, which if you're making a complete lei, you're going to need about anywhere from 20 to maybe 30 flowers. So it's a nice tool to have for this. All right, so there it is all rolled up. I'm making sure that the glue is having time to set before I remove that and just making sure to hold that in place. And now I removed that stem piece, the metal stem piece, to reveal my rolled up paper stem. And there you can see exactly what it looks like, and we're going to attach the flowers to that. Speaking of tools, if you have any shaping tools like this stylus, this is what I love to use for the flowers, just by rolling it around in the middle. I do that with all the flowers and the stems. But if you don't have that, you don't have to worry. You can shape these with your fingers just by kind of rolling it in the middle, kind of stretching out the crepe paper, giving it some crinkled edges, folding them, whatever you like. So I'm going to show you here without the stylus tool how to kind of shape these flowers. And you don't have to shape them at all if you really don't want to. All right, so when we glue this on, we need a little bit of that center sticking up above the petals. So you want to go right kind of below the widest part of that curled up piece. Now, when it comes to these other two larger petals, we're going to fold them in half. The die even creates a line to do that. And again, if you want to use the stylus tool and just rub that in the middle, you don't necessarily have to do the folding either. Really just find the style that you like when making these and go with that. All right, so when we glue these together, we have that first rounded petal glued on. I always start with that one, and then I add these two longer ones. And we're going to glue this on almost in a triangle. So they are, you know, two at the top kind of look like the ears to the bottom petal. And then you can see how that really forms a triangle when you press those petals out. Okay, next we have our three smaller petals. I decided to mix and match my purple and my pink petals. So for this one, the largest petals are purple and the smaller petals are going to be pink. And you can see I'm kind of crimping that up, giving it a little bit more of a realistic feel. I'm going to do that with all three of these smaller pink petals, and then we'll set to gluing them onto the stem. And they're going to get glued on at the same point, you know, just below the widest point of that stem. All right, so the glue just goes on at the bottom, and then these will go in between each of those existing three petals. And you just want to hold those on for a minute. They glue on really easy because the crepe paper is so thin and lightweight. It doesn't take long for them to adhere. So in between each petal that we glued on initially, we will add those smaller petals. And now that we have the 6 petals in place, that completes the flower part of the orchid, and it's so pretty. You could leave it just like this. You wouldn't have to add the leaves, but I think the leaves really complete the look. So I did some darker green and some lighter green leaves because that's what came in the crepe paper that I had. The crepe paper that I have is not the exact same crepe paper that Trinity is going to carry in the shop to make these, but the paper we're carrying is really good quality by Leah Griffith, so you're going to love that paper. Okay, so you can see the scored line here. Again, you can fold these leaves up and you can crimp them a little bit to give them a little extra life. The crepe paper is really easy to work with, and I really thought it would be fun to use the lighter and the darker green on this flower because I have the, you know, dark purple and the light pink. So I'm going to do that on either side of that short, rounded, largest petal. And you can really glue these on however you like. If you're, you know, going for a certain look for a flower arrangement and you need to glue them on in different places, do that. So here we are adding the second leaf and giving it a little bit of, you know, dimension by crimping it and folding it up first. And it's really fun. It's really fun to make these. I sat and watched a show with my kiddo and made several of these flowers. And it's just, you know, kind of one of those things you can mindlessly create and do something else at the same time. And I did end up making 20 of these flowers, and I'm going to put them on a lei, but you could also leave them just like this with the stem and add them to like a little miniature vase and have a little like maybe centerpiece for a table would be really cute, or something to put on someone's desk. They're really gorgeous. They don't need water, and they're going to last a really long time. So aren't they cute? Okay, let's do this one more time so you can get a feel for it. I'm using my fingernail to kind of open up that petal and widen it a little bit. And you can see I didn't crimp this one at all, and it looks just fine. So again, do you, whatever you like. I did add a little crimping to the larger petals here, you can see. And again, remember to glue the 3 largest petals on in that triangular shape, and it's going to indicate to you exactly where to put the smaller petals, which is right in between each of those. And once you get the hang of this, once you make one of them, it actually goes a lot faster and gets a lot easier to do. So again, do a practice one. Get that done first, and then you'll be excited to make a bunch more of these. And you know what I think too is that you could probably use these dies to create some flat flowers that you could put onto a card or a scrapbook page, but it is so much fun to make a 3D project once in a while. All right, so here's my second flower, again with the pink flowers as the largest petals and the smaller purple petals accenting that. All right, so now that I have 2 flowers, I'm going to go ahead and trim the stems down. I don't need them if I'm going to create a lei. And because this is rolled up, it's really easy to use a big needle, like an embroidery kind of needle, and some twine and thread these right on. Now, if you're going to thread these on just as I'm showing here, you're going to need several flowers. I would say 30 at least to make a lei, but I'm going to show you something that I did that helped me so that I didn't have to make quite as many flowers to get I would say a small sized lei. Okay, so I'm taking the die and I'm just die cutting out the top portion of the stem, and I'm going to use this to create a paper bead. So you can see I'm breaking down the fibers in the paper and then taking my stem and rolling this up nice and tight. And it's going to give me that kind of, you know, spiraled look where its skinniest strip is showing there in the middle and it's nice and wound up. Then I can remove that stem piece and I've got a paper bead. Now, some of the ends might be a little pointed. I trimmed that down and I use this as a spacer between each flower. Now you can have your flowers be on there and all snuggled together and nice and tight, but then you can also do the spacer if you want a little you know, thinned out look, a little bit less flowers. So it's really, you know, up to you the style that you're going for. Now, these leis are quite popular for graduation, you know, kind of a tradition that started in Hawaii. And I think that's really fun. So you could probably make these leis for graduates that you know, and probably some people are now going to ask you to make leis for their graduate. So there I just tied a knot to complete this. Again, this has 20 flowers on it and a spacer bead between every flower. So that is, I would consider it a small lei. If you had a large person, you might want to put a few more flowers on this one. But I'm going to show you one that Linda made that has no spacer beads. It's all flowers, and you can see the difference in the look. It's much fuller. And here's some that Linda also made and put in a little vase. I think that is such a fun look. So I hope this video has helped you and that you are creating some orchids like crazy now. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and we'll try to help you as soon as we can. Thanks again. Bye.